Before there was a woman named Eve, another was created first. Her name was Lilith. This ancient story tells of the world's very first woman, made back then. The ancient texts say God created the first man, Adam, from the earth. At that very same time, God also created a woman from the very same earth. This woman was Lilith. She was not made from Adam's rib, like Eve was. She was Adam's equal, formed from the same dust, under the very same sky. Because they were created together, Lilith saw herself as Adam's complete equal. She believed that neither person was better or superior to the other in any single way. They lived together in the beautiful Garden of Eden, a paradise of green trees, flowing rivers, and gentle animals. It was a perfect home for the first two humans. But soon, trouble began to brew between Adam and Lilith in the garden. They could not agree on how they should live their lives together as equal partners. Adam demanded that Lilith should obey him in all things. He saw himself as the natural leader, the one who was truly meant to be in charge now. The conflict came to a head over their physical relationship. Adam insisted that Lilith must lie beneath him. He saw this as the proper and only correct position. Lilith refused this demand completely. "Why must I lie beneath you?" she asked. "I was also made from the dust of the earth and am your equal." She argued that they were created as equals in every single way. Therefore, neither one of them should have to submit to the other one's personal will. Adam would not listen to her reasoning at all. He tried to force her to submit to his many desires, but she was strong and resisted his efforts. Lilith grew tired of the constant fighting and Adam's refusal to see her point. She knew she could not live a life of submission under his strict dominance. She decided that her only option was to leave the Garden of Eden. She would rather live in exile than give up her own personal freedom and equality. This was a monumental and very brave decision. She was leaving the only home she had ever known, a perfect paradise, to face an unknown and wild world. Her argument was simple and profound. True partnership requires mutual respect and equality. One person should not dominate the other in a relationship based only on their gender. Adam was shocked and angered by her bold defiance of his authority. He could not understand why she would not just simply obey his very simple and clear command. Her refusal challenged the very core of his belief system. He believed in a hierarchy where the man was placed above the woman by divine and sacred right. But for Lilith, it was a matter of principle. She valued her independence and self-worth more than she valued the comfort and safety that the garden offered her. So, their fundamental disagreement about power and position could not be resolved. The first man and woman were at a complete and total impasse with no solution. Lilith knew what she had to do next. She prepared to make her escape from Eden and from Adam, to find her own destiny in the lonely world. To escape, Lilith did something incredibly daring and forbidden. She uttered the ineffable name of God. It was a secret and powerful name, known only to a few. This sacred name held immense power. By speaking it aloud, she was granted incredible abilities, including the miraculous power to fly away from the beautiful Garden of Eden. With wings she did not have before, she rose into the air. She flew high above the walls of paradise, leaving a stunned and furious Adam far behind. Adam watched in disbelief as she disappeared into the sky. He immediately ran to God, complaining about the rebellious woman who had abandoned him in the garden alone. He told God that Lilith had defied him and had fled. He demanded that God must bring her back to him so she could fulfill her wifely duties. God heard Adam's plea and decided to act upon his request. God agreed that Lilith should return to the Garden of Eden to be with Adam again. So, God summoned 3 of his mightiest angels. Their names were Senoi, Sansinoi, and Semangelof. They were given a very specific mission to complete for God. Their task was to find Lilith wherever she had gone. They were instructed to persuade her to return to Adam in the Garden of Eden of her own will. If she refused to come back willingly, the angels were given a stern warning to deliver. A terrible punishment would befall her and her future children for disobedience. The three angels set off at once, flying from heaven. They were determined to find the runaway woman and bring her back to paradise to face her fate. The angels searched the world for Lilith. They finally found her living by the shores of the Red Sea. It was a wild and desolate place, far away. This was no longer the innocent woman of Eden. By the Red Sea, Lilith had taken many lovers. She consorted with the demons who haunted that barren landscape. She was bearing children from these unions with the demonic spirits. It was said that she gave birth to more than 100 demon children every single day. The three angels, Senoi, Sansenoi, and Semangelof, approached her there. They delivered God's message, demanding that she return to Adam in the garden without any delay. Lilith listened to their words, but her heart was firm. She had found a new life, a wild freedom she had never known with Adam in the garden. She looked at the angels and gave them her defiant answer. She told them she would never return to a life of submission under Adam's controlling rule again. The angels then gave her God's terrible ultimatum. If she did not return, 100 of her demon children would die every single day for her continued defiance. This was a horrific punishment, meant to break her will completely. The loss of her children was a price almost too terrible for any mother to even imagine. Even faced with this devastating threat, Lilith still refused to go back. She would not trade her autonomy for a cage, not even a beautiful golden gilded one. She wept for the children she would lose, but her resolve was strong. Her principles were more important than her own personal happiness, or even her own great sorrow. In her grief and rage, she made a terrible vow. She swore that she would seek revenge on the children of Adam and his future wife Eve. She declared that she would attack human infants in their sleep. She would target newborn babies, especially boys, during their first few vulnerable days of their new life. She would prey on baby boys up to the 8th day of life. For baby girls, she would threaten them for up to 20 days of their life. The angels were horrified by her dark promise of endless vengeance. They knew they could not force her to return, but they had to protect human children now. So, a new bargain had to be struck between them. A compromise was reached there by the deep and churning waters of the lonely and desolate Red Sea. Lilith agreed to an exception to her terrible, vengeful vow. She would not harm any baby who was protected by a very special and specific kind of charm. If she saw an amulet bearing the names of the three angels, Senoi, Sansenoi, and Semangelof, she would have no power over that particular child and must leave. This pact created a tradition that lasted for many centuries. Parents would create protective amulets and place them in the rooms of their newborn infants for their safety. These amulets were often inscribed on parchment or metal. They would be hung above the baby's crib or bed to ward off Lilith and her malevolent intentions. So, while Lilith became a figure of great terror for new parents, there was also a way to defend against her. Her power, though great, was not absolute. The angels returned to heaven without her. They reported her refusal, and the deal they had struck to God. Adam was left alone in the Garden of Eden. God then created a new companion for Adam, a second woman. This time, she was not created from the same earth as an equal to the first man. This new woman was Eve. She was famously formed from one of Adam's ribs. This method of creation signified that she was a part of him, not separate. Eve was more subservient and compliant than Lilith had been. The story of Adam and Eve then continued, forming the basis of the biblical tale we know today. Lilith, meanwhile, was left to her own devices. Her story branched away from the main narrative, entering the shadowy realms of folklore, mysticism, and dark, ancient legends. Over time, Lilith's story changed and evolved. She was transformed in the popular imagination from a rebellious first wife into a much more sinister and dangerous figure. She became known as a demon of the night, a screeching owl flying through the darkness, a name derived from the ancient Sumerian Lilith, who are wind spirits. In many tales, she is described as a succubus, a beautiful demon who visits men in their sleep, seducing them and stealing their life force away from them. Her beauty was said to be a dangerous trap. She had long, flowing hair, often red, and a captivating allure that mortal men could not possibly hope to resist. She was also seen as the mother of all demons, or jinn. Her children, born by the Red Sea, became a horde of evil spirits that plagued humanity. Her connection to the night is very strong. She is a creature of the moon, shadows, and darkness, representing everything that is hidden, wild, and completely untamed by man. In some legends, she is the serpent in the Garden of Eden. It was she, not a snake, who tempted Eve to eat the forbidden fruit from the tree. This version of the story casts her as a jealous rival. She sought revenge on Adam and his new wife, causing their expulsion from the perfect paradise garden. Her image became a warning to women. She represented the dangers of female disobedience, sexual freedom, and a woman's refusal to accept her traditional place in society. She was the opposite of the ideal woman, who was meant to be modest, obedient, and nurturing. Lilith was proud, independent, and dangerously assertive in her many actions. For centuries, she was used as a cautionary tale, a story told to enforce patriarchal norms and to keep women in a subservient role within the family structure. Her name became synonymous with chaos, death, and seduction. She embodied the fears that a male-dominated society held about the power of an independent and free-willed woman. She was often depicted as a monstrous hybrid creature, sometimes with wings, sometimes with the lower body of a serpent, symbolizing her otherworldly and non-human demonic nature. These dark portrayals solidified her reputation as an evil entity. Lilith was a demon to be feared and a spirit to be constantly guarded against by all people. Thus, the woman who simply wanted equality was demonized. Her story was twisted into a legend of a terrifying monster who preyed on the innocent in the darkness. In Jewish mysticism, known as Kabbalah, Lilith's character is explored deeply. She is not just a simple folktale demon, but a major cosmic and spiritual force. Kabbalistic texts, like the Zohar, portray her as a powerful queen. She is often the demonic consort of Samael, who is sometimes identified as the angel Satan. Together, Samael and Lilith rule the dark realm, the Sitra Achra. This is the other side, the metaphysical realm of evil that opposes the holy side of God. She is seen as the feminine aspect of pure evil, the counterpart to the Shekinah, who is the holy feminine presence of God in the world of the light. This cosmic duality presents a powerful metaphysical drama. The struggle between the holy feminine and the demonic feminine is a constant battle for influence over the entire world. In these mystical traditions, Lilith's power is immense. She commands legions of demons and has the ability to cause chaos and spiritual destruction throughout the entire mortal world. She represents untamed and dangerous sexuality, a force that is not for procreation within marriage, but for pure lust, temptation, and the draining of spiritual energy for men. Mystics saw her as a real and present danger. They developed incantations, prayers, and complex rituals to protect themselves from her influence and her many demonic and evil minions. Her story within Kabbalah is complex and multi-layered. She is a symbol of spiritual impurity and the dark side that exists as an alternative to divine sacred holiness. These mystical interpretations added new depth to her legend. They elevated her from a simple boogeyman to a significant theological figure representing the primordial forces of utter darkness. In the late 20th century, a major shift occurred. Feminist thinkers and writers began to look at Lilith's story in a completely new and more positive light. They saw her not as a demon, but as a heroic figure. A woman who was punished simply for demanding to be treated as an equal to her male partner. Lilith was reclaimed as a powerful feminist icon. She became a symbol of female strength, autonomy, and the courage to defy an unjust and oppressive patriarchal system. Her decision to leave Eden was reinterpreted as an act of self-liberation. She chose exile and freedom over a comfortable life of submission and complete personal erasure. She represents the woman who refuses to be silent, the one who speaks her mind, knows her own worth, and will not compromise on her fundamental human rights. Modern stories, poems, and art began to celebrate her. Lilith was now the brave first woman, the true ancestor of all strong and independent women in the world. The parts of her story that were once seen as evil, her sexuality, her independence, her anger, are now viewed as sources of great power and righteous female expression. Her wildness was no longer a flaw but a virtue. It symbolized a connection to nature, intuition, and the parts of the feminine spirit that society tried to suppress. The Lilith Fair, a popular music festival in the 1990s, was named for her. It showcased female artists and celebrated women's creativity and power in the industry. She became a role model for women breaking free from traditional roles, a spiritual guide for those seeking to find and embrace their own inner strength and power. This reinterpretation completely flipped the old narrative on its head. The villain of the old story was transformed into the inspiring hero of a brand new one. She is now seen as the first feminist in history, the one who, at the very dawn of creation, stood up and declared, "I am your equal." Her story teaches a powerful lesson about historical narratives. It shows how stories can be shaped by those in power to control and demonize those who challenge them. By reclaiming Lilith, women reclaim a part of their own history, a story of resistance and resilience that had been buried for thousands of years under layers of fear. Today, Lilith stands as a complex and multifaceted figure. She is a goddess of freedom, a symbol of rebellion, and a testament to the enduring female spirit. Lilith's journey is truly remarkable. From the first woman in Eden to a feared demon of the night, and then to a celebrated icon of modern female empowerment. Her story, though not found in the main biblical canon, persists. It thrives in folklore, mysticism, and modern culture, proving its powerful and lasting appeal to all. She represents the eternal struggle for equality and recognition. A timeless tale of one individual's fight against an unfair system that seeks to silence her unique and powerful voice. Whether seen as a demon or a hero, Lilith forces us to ask questions. We must consider power, submission, freedom, and the true meaning of a genuine partnership. The legend of Lilith, the woman who refused to lie down, endures. Her shadow stretches from the dawn of time to our present day, forever challenging us.